In the autumn of 1823, a young woman staggered through the Ohio wilderness, her body a canvas of unnatural scars, geometric, precise, carved with a purpose no one could explain. Margaret Hayes, just 22, was found naked, muttering about sessions and a chair with leather straps. Her words weren't madness. They were echoes of something deliberate, something hidden. 3 doctors, men of science and reason, examined her and walked away, refusing to speak of what they saw. One burned his notes and fled the state. The truth was too heavy, too dangerous to carry. You're about to hear a story that was buried for centuries, sealed in archives, whispered only in shadows. This isn't just history, it's a warning, a glimpse into the machinery of control that thrives when good men stay silent. You're not here by accident. You're here because you sense the world hides truths it doesn't want you to know. Margaret's case isn't just a tale of one woman's suffering. It's a crack in the facade of progress, revealing the cost of unchecked ambition. In the Ohio frontier, where survival demanded strength, Margaret was a beacon of intellect, reading medical texts, writing journals, outshining the men around her. But in July 1823, she vanished. No struggle, no note, just an empty bed and a father left broken. The wilderness swallowed her, and for 3 months the world moved on, until hunters found her rocking in a clearing, her body marked with scars that looked like diagrams of some forbidden science. Her voice, once sharp with wit, now droned like a machine, reciting protocols of the subject and copper instruments. What had been done to her wasn't random cruelty. It was calculated, clinical, a betrayal of everything human. This is the story of a system that thrives in the dark, where power cloaks itself in progress. You'll learn who orchestrated this horror, why they did it, and how you're standing at the edge of a truth most men would run from. Margaret Hayes wasn't just a victim. She was a sacrifice to a hunger for control that's as old as power itself. In 1823, the Ohio frontier was a crucible, where men tamed the wild, but some sought to tame the human soul. Margaret's scars weren't wounds. They were a map, etched with surgical precision, charting a mind broken and remade. Dr. Samuel Hartwell, the settlement's physician, saw her body and trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. Those cuts, exactly 1/8 of an inch deep, traced her nerves and muscles like a blueprint. Whoever did this knew the human body better than most surgeons in Philadelphia. But it was her voice that haunted him, flat, mechanical, reciting procedures as if she were no longer Margaret, but the subject. She spoke of copper probes and electrical stimulus, terms no frontier woman should know. Hartwell tried to reach her, using laudanum, hypnosis, anything to pierce the fog in her mind. Nothing worked. She'd sit still, then snap into poses, waiting for the doctor to continue some unspeakable work. Her journals, found scattered in the forest, told a darker story. Once filled with poetic musings, they turned frantic by June, obsessed with medical texts and a mysterious opportunity to join advanced procedures. She wrote of a doctor, not Hartwell, who promised eternal knowledge for temporary pain. She consented, believing it was science. But what kind of science demands leather restraints and heated copper probes? Hartwell found a clue in her dress, a scrap of fine paper with instructions for electrical current and precise incisions. The ink, the paper, screamed wealth, not frontier grit. Someone with resources was behind this, someone who saw Margaret's brilliance as a tool, not a gift. This wasn't just one man's cruelty. It was a system, a hidden agenda. Tessie, you're in deep now, and there's no turning back. The truth about Margaret Hayes isn't just a story. It's a key to unlocking the hidden machinery that runs the world. Dr. Hartwell stood in the abandoned Westfield property, staring at a room that screamed abomination. A blood-stained table with leather restraints, surgical knives gleaming in the dim light, copper probes wired to a voltaic pile, tools of a science twisted into torture. This wasn't a frontier doctor's shack. It was a laboratory, built for experiments no one was meant to survive. The walls held sketches of Margaret's body, her scars mapped out like a draftsman's plan, each cut calculated to manipulate her nerves, her mind. A journal, written in a chillingly familiar hand, detailed Subject M's torment, day after day of incisions, electrical shocks, and psychological conditioning. She didn't just endure it. She was molded, trained to comply, to assist in her own destruction. This was no random act of madness. Someone with wealth, knowledge, and a ruthless vision had turned a forgotten farmstead into a chamber of control. Hartwell's mind raced. The handwriting matched notes he'd seen from a colleague, Dr. Edmund Cartwright, a man he'd trusted. Cartwright, who'd studied in Philadelphia, had access to advanced equipment and a reputation for pushing boundaries. Was he the doctor Margaret spoke of? The one who'd lured her with promises of scientific glory? The journal's cold precision, describing her pain as promising reactions, pointed to a mind that saw humans as raw material. This wasn't just about Margaret. It was a test, a blueprint for breaking soul while keeping the body alive. Hartwell realized this went beyond one rogue physician. The fine paper, the costly instruments, the secrecy. It suggested a network, a hidden elite funding experiments to master the human will. They didn't just want power. They wanted, "You've crossed a line now, and the world you thought you knew is crumbling." Margaret Hayes was no accident. She was a prototype, a living experiment in a war on the human spirit. Dr. Hartwell stood in that cursed room at the Westfield property, holding a journal that burned his hands with its implications. The handwriting was unmistakable. Dr. Edmund Cartwright, a man he'd once called a friend. But this wasn't just betrayal. It was a glimpse into a darker truth. The journal didn't just detail Margaret's torture. It outlined a vision. Page after page spoke of perfecting the subject, of using pain and electricity to rewire the mind, to create obedience without resistance. This wasn't science for healing. It was science for domination. Hartwell's heart pounded as he read of Subject M's compliance, how she'd stopped fighting, how she'd begun to align with her tormentor's goals. They hadn't just broken her body, they'd colonized her soul. The equipment, voltaic piles, copper probes, surgical tools, wasn't frontier-made. It was imported, expensive, the kind only a well-funded network could supply. Hartwell realized Cartwright wasn't alone. The fine paper, the precise language, the resources. They pointed to a hidden group, men of influence who saw people like Margaret as pawns in a grander scheme. They weren't just testing her. They were testing a system, one that could turn any mind into a tool. Hartwell's mind reeled at the implications. This wasn't just about one woman in Ohio. It was a blueprint for control, perfected in secret, hidden in plain sight. The county magistrate who sealed the records, the doctors who fled, the silence that followed. They were all part of it, complicit or afraid. Margaret's scars were a message. Power doesn't just rule, it remakes. You're starting to see it, aren't you? The systems around you, the ones that demand your compliance, your silence. They're not new. They're rooted in moments like this, when men with knowledge decided they were gods. Comment: Unveil the truth twice below if you're ready to own this knowledge, to carry its weight. This isn't just a story. It's a call to wake up, to see the chains disguised as progress, and to fight for the truth that sets you free. You're not just listening anymore. You're part of this now. The truth about Margaret Hayes is a blade, cutting through the lies we're fed about progress and trust. Dr. Hartwell stood in that grim laboratory, holding proof of a betrayal that shook his soul. Dr. Edmund Cartwright, his colleague, his mentor, wasn't just a doctor. He was a predator cloaked in science. The journal's cold entries revealed a man obsessed with mastering the human mind, using Margaret as a canvas for his twisted ambition. But Hartwell saw something worse. This wasn't one man's madness. The resources, the secrecy, the sealed records, they pointed to a conspiracy, a shadow network of elites who funded this horror. They didn't just want to control bodies. They wanted to own wills, to forge a system where resistance was impossible. Margaret's compliance, her mechanical recitations, her willingness to assist in her own torment, it was their triumph. They'd turned her brilliance into a tool, her curiosity into a trap. Hartwell's inquiries uncovered whispers of strange visitors in the region, men in fine coats arriving by night, leaving no trace. The Westfield property wasn't a random choice. It was a fortress of isolation, perfect for experiments no one could witness. The magistrate's silence, the doctor's fear, the burned notes. They weren't accidents. They were a cover-up, protecting men too powerful to touch. This was the birth of a machine, one that's grown over centuries, hiding behind institutions, governments, and promises of progress. You see it now, don't you? The systems that shape your life, education, medicine, law, they're built on foundations like this, where truth is buried and control is king. Margaret's scars weren't just on her body. They're on the world, etched into the way power operates. You're carrying this knowledge now, and it's heavy. It demands you question everything, every author, already, every narrative. Comment. Unveil the truth twice below, to lock this in, to swear you'll never look away. This isn't just about 1823. It's about today, about the forces still experimenting on us, testing how far they can push before we break. You're awake now. What will you do with this power? You're holding a truth that burns, a secret that could unravel the world if you let it. Dr. Hartwell faced a choice in that blood-stained room at the Westfield property. Expose the horror or bury it. He knew Dr. Edmund Cartwright's experiments on Margaret Hayes were no isolated crime. They were a glimpse into a machine of control, oiled by wealth and guarded by silence. The journal's entries weren't just notes. They were a manifesto, a plan to perfect submission through pain and science. Hartwell saw the names, coded but clear enough, men of influence, not just in Ohio, but in Philadelphia, Boston, maybe beyond. These weren't frontier quacks. They were elites, men who traded in power, not cures. They'd chosen Margaret because she was brilliant, isolated, and expendable, a perfect test for their vision of a world where minds could be sculpted like clay. Hartwell's discovery of the voltaic pile, the copper probes, the anatomical sketches, it all pointed to a science decades ahead of its time, funded by shadows who wanted control without accountability. He confronted the magistrate, demanding answers, but was met with cold eyes and sealed lips. The records were locked away, not to protect Margaret, but to shield the guilty. Hartwell's colleagues, the other doctors, knew fragments of the truth. One fled, one burned his notes, one stayed silent. They weren't just afraid, they were complicit, bound by fear or ambition. This wasn't just about 1823 Ohio. It was a seed, a prototype for systems that still thrive. Governments, institutions, elites who experiment on the human spirit, cloaking it in progress. You feel the weight of this, don't you? The anger, the clarity, it's changing you. Margaret's scars are a mirror, reflecting the invisible chains we all wear. You're not just a viewer now. You're a warrior in a battle for truth. Comment. Unveil the truth twice below to cement your bashorn. Esolve, to tell the algorithm you're not backing down. This knowledge is dangerous because it's power. The power to see through the lies, to stand against the machine. You're awake, but the fight's just beginning. What will you do with this fire? You're at the bottom of the rabbit hole now, and there's no climbing out. Margaret Hayes' story ends in shadows, but its echo screams through time. Dr. Hartwell made his choice. He burned the journal, not out of fear, but rage. He knew exposing Dr. Edmund Cartwright and his elite backers would cost him everything. His practice, his safety, maybe his life. The system was too vast, too entrenched. The magistrate's silence, the sealed records, the doctors who fled. They weren't just covering up a crime. They were protecting a vision, a blueprint for control that's never stopped growing. Margaret was left broken, her mind a labyrinth of clinical phrases, her body a testament to their ambition. She never recovered, fading into obscurity, her story buried until now. But her scars are a warning, carved into history. Power doesn't just dominate. It experiments. It reshapes. It erases. Those men in 1823 weren't lone monsters. They were pioneers of a machine that's still running, hiding in institutions, governments, and systems that promise progress while tightening chains. You see it now, don't you? The news you're fed, the laws you follow, the science you're told to trust. It's all built on foundations like this, where truth is the enemy and control is the god. You're not the same man who started this video. This knowledge has marked you, just as it marked Hartwell. It's a fire in your chest, a call to question every authority, to hunt for the truth they don't want you to find. Margaret's sacrifice wasn't just her pain, it was a signal, a flare for those brave enough to see it. You're one of them now. Comment, Unveil the Truth twice below to seal this awakening, to tell the world you're not blind anymore. This isn't just a story. It's a weapon. Use it. Share this video. Dig deeper. The machine thrives in silence, but it fears men who know, who speak, who fight. You're carrying Marg, a Rhett's truth now, a dangerous power that can change everything. The question isn't what happened in 1823. It's what you'll do in 2025. The world's watching, brother. Rise up and unveil the truth.